Wayne Morrow is president of the John Birch Society, and he joins us here on The Truth. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, tell us a little bit about the John Birch Society. I don't want to start off on a sour note, but I have to tell you that I've always had sort of a perhaps misimpression of the John Birch Society as being anti Semite and racially charged. Am I wrong?
You're wrong. Absolutely.
Am I the only person who's had that
Uh,
misconception?
maybe in the past because that was done so folks wouldn't listen to what we have to say. Kind of like what happened to Trump. Don't listen to this guy. He's a fascist. When you're over target, you get all the arrows, right?
Hmm.
So that's exactly what happens. It's so I could read to you, what we believe in and just answer that question. And they've known about this. It says, we believe in the dignity of the individual. We welcome people of all ethnic, racial, religious backgrounds, judging only by character and ability as we've been just of ourselves. Our common bond is a love for liberty and rejection of totalitarianism under any label. That's what we believe in. That's one of our main tenets. We have all bunch. We believe in an American system of government, constitutional republic, not a democracy, the finest ever developed by man. And our job is to keep on preaching and teaching our republic constitution. But because we point out the people now they call the globalists and the deep state, they don't like that. So they had to make sure that we'll do some incorrect smearing so nobody listens any longer. So that's why that baggage is kind of disappearing because over a period of time, what we talked about is now happening.
So you think that this label was attached to you surreptitiously and for uh, negative, bad reasons? Is
Absolutely
that?
right. Yeah, the first person that did that was a communist party called People's World in California. Don't listen to those guys. We're not communists. Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
And then Buckley came about. We found Buckley was a paid shill for the establishment, and we were exposing the same folks that are supporting him. And he goes, "Oh, don't listen to them." Even though our founder, Mr. Welch, in 1958, I support him financially to get the New Republic going. And he turned around and stabbed Mr. Welch in the back. So then we find out the guy was really not a good guy at all. He was a pipe popper for the establishment. But, that's what we see.
You mentioned our republic, and on television, on the news, all the time you hear about democracy, democracy, democracy.
Mhm.
They're a threat against democracy.
Oh, yeah.
But you're saying that they would be threats against the republic. Explain why that distinction is so important.
Oh, of course. Well, that's the republic, which we are. The word republic is in our constitution. There's no there's no word democracy any state constitution as well. It does not exist. That word doesn't exist in our constitution for good reason. Republic means res publica means ruled by law. Democracy is majority rule. For example, if we're in a room and there's five guys in a room, one lady, we decide that we're all going to vote and shave the woman's hair, give her a brush haircut. 5-1, she loses, get the scissors out. That's a democracy. But if we had a republic, she says, no, you can't do that to her. She has her rights. She has law. You can't just do that on your own. So we're protected by law. Big difference. Res publica. And that's a key and not a democracy. Democracy leads to totalitarian anarchy than totalitarianism. Even our founding fathers said in the Federalist Papers, democracy dies a violent death. And we're seeing that. We're seeing they drive that home. They don't want people to know we're a republic. It's not semantics, it's for real. That's why it's in our Constitution. So for fun, you could do this later on. Ask people, pay them $100 so they can find the word republic in their state constitution. They're not going to find that word. It's always a republic, not a democracy.
So you think Donald Trump is a peacemaker? Tell us about it.
I think he's trying really hard, and that's a tough job. It really is. I mean, he's got to manage a lot of personalities and a lot of things going on.
Personalities from two people that hate each other.
Oh, God, can you imagine? I mean, this is like a no-win thing. But I'd say he has the right mentality and motive, but you want to get involved in foreign entanglements. That's what our Constitution. Don't get too involved in all that stuff, but you want to have that good, bring people together for peace. but avoid foreign entanglements because that's a no-win situation. But yes, I think he's trying desperately to have a peaceful world. Nothing wrong with that. That's pretty much a valor characteristics of him. I really think that I admire him for that task.
I think the majority of people in America would certainly want peace,
Yes.
and there's really nothing in it for us
No.
to want war,
Right.
except for the military industrial complex
Absolutely.
and the people who spend their lives and livelihoods
Hmm.
preparing for war.
Right.
I think therein lies the problem, doesn't it?
Yes, of course. That's been around. The military industrial complex been around for a long time. The only thing that advances it is money, and they kill a lot of innocent men and women. That's what
Yeah.
always happens. It's been going on forever. Yeah.
Do you have a sense of where the Ukraine and the Russian conflict stands as we speak? We felt like we were headed towards a trilateral summit.
Hmm.
It doesn't sound like that's going to happen now anytime soon. Do you get that sense?
I get that sense. Yeah. Yeah. There's actually an agenda that we're not aware of. I can tell you that. Putin wants to save face, and the Ukrainians, they've been on the target list of the Russians for a long time. They're usually the breadbasket of Europe. So at least in that part of the world, and so yeah, there are a lot of agendas going on that we're not privy to, but I think it's egos now, and it's a shame. A lot of innocent people are being killed. They're the cannon fodder, and the political games being played. That's a tragedy of all wars, right? The pundits always come out of it, but poor people in their countries end up dying, paying the price. There's no win in that whole thing. So I
Well, I
think it's
certainly.
egos and pride are hard at work here.
Yeah, and I always tell my kids, ego is the enemy. So it's just really a lot better to be humble. But I'm not sure that it doesn't go beyond ego with Putin. I think he really wants the territory
Oh yeah.
that he's fought so hard to claim.
Yeah, I think he probably historically he thinks he owns some of that, and there's
Mhm.
some strategic reasons for it, and um, that's probably part of it. But I we follow it and we see it, and we've seen all kinds of wars in the past, and it doesn't end well. Never ends well. Right now, they're destroying Ukraine. They're actually obliterating that place. So, and we end up putting money rebuilding the country again, right?
Yeah,
Let me see how that works again. Huh? We've done that. How many times have we done that, brother? Like,
lots.
really? Is that what we're really doing here? Yeah, okay. So like a lot more to this game, a lot more to this game.
So, do you feel like that we'll get peace in with Ukraine and Russia unless Putin gets some territory?
My personal educated guess, I think there's going to be some horse trading going on. I think that's what's going to have to happen, and I don't know what that's going to look like. But I can tell you, we have our own issues in our own country, right? We have lots of illegal invasions period up. We have our own problems in the United States. We have to focus in on home. Our focus should not be there; it should be at home. We mentioned this before we got on. We have an election coming up, and we have a lot of people running around the United States who came here illegally. I call them the invaders. They weren't leaving here for any reason, be invading by the globalists to destroy our country, and they're doing it in Europe as we speak. And you're sure you see that. That's all done by on purpose to destroy the culture, to rebuild into a new world culture. The only way you can do that here in the United States is tear down all the institutions and start all over again. That's really the war. We've been in a war for a long time here. And in Europe, I have friends there. I used to work there. They're under tremendous pressure, and they're just being destroyed. And people can't walk the streets, and especially UK or Ireland, and it's awful. I mean, but it's all done by design by their leaders.
So when you're saying that we are at war, I think that uh, calls for the question of who are we at war with? I mean, who are we battling?
The globalists, the guys who want world government, that's who we're battling. And it's all the UN agenda. They talk about it. How do you get world government unless you destroy all the past? That's why they don't teach us history anymore, my friend. They want to know our past. I talk to Europeans, they tell me, we love our country, we love our heritage. We're losing our sovereignty, and we don't like that any longer. It does not work. The French want to be French. The
Yeah.
Germans love their culture. I live with those people. The English love their British pound and all their heritage. And the United States has America. We love ours. Why would we want to destroy it? Our history is our identification. And so, how can I make it all brand new? I have to wipe it all clean. So, I hire people to come in and maim, destroy, and take over and start all new. That's what we're seeing here. And I think President Trump saw that. He certainly slowed down the invasion to a trickle, taking people out. Here, people complaining they're shoving them back to their own countries again. Can you imagine how crazy that is? How Americans would even believe that? What's wrong with us? Why can't we see that?
I asked myself the same question.
What are they thinking? I have no answer. I go around the United States and I talk to people. And John, I'll tell you this. I asked the question, when is the last time you read the US Constitution? And I'd say 2% of the crowd says yes. Now here's one's going to kill you, right? I asked the question, when is the last time you read your state constitution? And the answer is zero. So now my question is, Congress makes the laws, correct? Correct. So then how do you base your next election on what? So is it a beauty contest? Maybe it is. Is it a Valentine's card mentality? Maybe it is. Maybe someone tells a joke, I really like him, but are they based it on constitutional reality? Probably not, because they've not been taught the Constitution. So we've been busy re-educating Americans in who we are and educating them on the Constitution so they can make right decisions and have constitutional-minded representatives. As I mentioned, Congress makes the laws. You saw the State of the Union. Think about it. Half of those people sat down and never applauded for the Americanist things that he said. How do these people get in office? Is half our country that messed up? Really? What's wrong with us? That's the thing that really bothers me. And we've been busy saying, wake up. You're giving your country away. Wake up. You're handing it over to the other folks. How can you stand by and watch that happen? There's, they don't know their country. They don't know the Constitution. All they do is complain.
Well, I felt like that the American people did show up for on November the 5th, 2024, one of the largest turnouts ever in an
Yes,
American national
that's
presidential
correct.
election. But the job's far from over, is it?
It's ongoing. Well, they found our country was in deep trouble with the last
Mhm.
administration. I mean, with 4 more years of that, we'd be done, right? They said, "Whoop!" So Americans respond with their faces against the mirror, right? Like they can't go any farther. Yeah, but it's still there. And as I mentioned, now that Trump is around, they want on pause. As you know, the left is hard at work trying to get back to power again. Did we do that once before? We all went to sleep, and all of a sudden we got the Biden administration. So my warning is to the Americans who hear this: act like you lost. Don't stop. The next election is going to be really important because it'll change the way our Congress looks. If we lose Congress, all those EOs that President Trump put in are meaningless because they won't become law. That's what we need. So you can have him do all the wonderful things. If Congress doesn't support it, it's not going anywhere. That's critical.
Well, for the last 23 years, the party in power has lost the midterms every opportunity that there was to hold the Congress. So do you think it'll be different in 2026?
As of now, I don't know. I'm hoping not. I'm trying to change that in our own organization, trying to go out and teach people, wake up. And your show and other ones we get on to encourage, I call it the MAGA people, right? Who are stood up, is not to go back to sleep. This is the worst thing you can do. Who is your representative and how they vote? You go to our website, thenewamerican.com. We have a thing called a Freedom Index. It prints off every congressional scorecard, not only for Congress, but over every state representative in the United States and how they vote. You can print it off, go visit your state legislators or their staffers in Congress or the states and see how they vote. 100% constitutionally or zero. Here's a tragedy. Most people don't know who their representatives are. They have no idea how they voted, but they sit and complain about it. So we give them the tools to say, go see them, Hey, we hired you to uphold the Constitution. Why are you doing that? Well, guess what? I talk to congressmen often. And you know what they tell me? Nobody calls their office. Nobody visits them. We must be doing a good job.
Hmm.
The answer is no. We go see them and say, look, this is what we're passing around your district because you're not voting constitutionally. You have a choice. Either they get more constitutional minded because they want to keep their job, or we find somebody else that will. So the thing is that is hope. But it's amazing to see most America is on remote control. They'll tell you more about a football score stats than how their congressman votes or visit them. Isn't that a shame?
It is, and I appreciate your coming on and sharing that with us, Wayne Morrow. He's the CEO of the John Birch Society. And where can people follow you and keep up with your work?
And we have a social account at xjbs.org. We have the newamerican.com, and you can go to our website, thejbs.org. You can have a free course on the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. We have lots of videos on. We talked about immigration, about climate change, all that information to educate you really what's going on. All I could say is that people who hear this, Americans, have to get involved in the next election. There's some strategic governor races happening, and this is where we go to sleep. And that's what you said. They lose on purpose because they think they've won.
Yeah,
Act like you lost. The other side's working overtime. Believe me, they want power back again. Don't you see that?
absolutely. All right, Wayne Morrow, thank you for coming on The Truth today. We appreciate it. And I'm going to go check out newamerica.com for sure.
I wish you would. Thank you for the opportunity
Our pleasure. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your weekend.
as well. You bet. Thank you. Bye bye.